Today I'm going to be ranking every single couple that appears in Avatar: Last Airbender and The Legend of Korra. To be on this list, they have to be an official couple, meaning that they have to have at least both showed interest in each other at one point in the events of one of the two series. That means that fan-made relationships like Katara and Zuko are not going to be on this list. Each member also has to have a name, and I'm going to be ranking these based on how well I think that they work as a couple. Number 39, Ursa and Ozai. When both members of a relationship have plotted to murder one another, you know it's pretty bad. Ozai forced Ursa to marry him because she was the granddaughter of ROKU, and Ozai didn't seem to have any love for basically anybody in his life. Not Ursa, not Azula, not Zuko, not his brother, not even his father Azula, who he conspired to murder. Number 38, Kuvira and Baatar Jr. This was the definition of toxic. Kuvira pitted Baatar against his entire family, and she was ready to murder him in order to execute her plan to destroy Republic City. Number 37, HAHN and Yue. They were only together because it was arranged by their families, and Yue believed this was her duty. HAHN admitted he didn't even really care about Yue. He was just in it for the political perks. We don't even see these two interact on screen at all. Number 36, Chan and Azula. These two showed interest in each other for like 10 seconds, and then Azula freaked him out because she started acting crazy. Somewhat relatable. Number 35, Anji and Hide. I have no idea why Anji was dating Hide, and I hope that she dumped him after Aang threw his dance party. Number 34, Mako and Asami. This was a train wreck from the start. Mako clearly had an interest in Korra from the beginning, but tried to get into a relationship with Asami. He constantly prioritized his doomed relationship with Korra even after they'd broken up. Number 33, Tenzin and Lin. It's hard for me to even picture these two as a couple, and maybe that's the point. The problem probably arose when Tenzin realized Lin didn't want any kids. Number 32, Mako and Korra. If there was no season 2 of Korra, this would probably rank a lot higher. But alas, the show went on, and we saw the trouble these two had. I think this one was written off the show because of how much backlash the love triangle had. Number 31, Toph and Kanto. We know that this relationship was a failure, but we don't really know much about Lin's father, Kanto. The relationship wouldn't have lasted too long because Lin and Suyin are only a few years apart and they have different dads. Number 30, Bolin and Eska. Bolin was attracted to Eska and Desna for that matter, and attempted to woo her, but immediately regretted it once he found out how crazy she was. But he didn't have the guts to break up with her. Still, these two ended up on relatively good terms. Number 29, Sokka and Ty Lee. They showed very brief attraction toward each other during the series, and I think there was some chemistry. Number 28, Bolin and Ginger. This was at least a little less toxic than Eska, but Ginger only started liking Bolin after he'd saved the day. It was a superficial attraction and it went nowhere. Number 27, Jet and Katara. Katara was very sympathetic towards Jet. They experienced similar losses, but Jet allowed this to fuel his hatred for random firebenders, while Katara found empathy for even characters like Zuko who'd attacked her. Maybe this could have worked out in some parallel universe where Jet lives and Aang dies the last airbender because he gets cucked. Number 26, Yasuko and HIROSHI SATO. These were Asami's parents. When Yasuko was killed by firebenders, HIROSHI became an equalist. Number 25, Buttercup and President Raiko. This was the president and his wife. They were both kidnapped by Varrick in an attempt to instigate a war between the two water tribes. They seemed like a good couple, I guess. Number 24, Lao and Poppy Beifong. These were Toph's parents. They were extremely traditional and discouraged Toph from learning earthbending because of her blindness. Number 23, Mei Jim. These two are the only spirits on this list. They got married but would fight when corrupted by Vaatu. I honestly just hate these two. This is one of the most annoying scenes in the entire franchise if I'm being honest. Number 22, Zuko and Jin. These two had solid chemistry, but they were held back by Zuko's conflict inside himself. Even so, I think this was a more one-sided attraction on Jin's part. But who knows, maybe I'm wrong and maybe Azumi is Jin's daughter. Number 21, Iknik Blackstone, Varrick, and Zhu Li Moon. Maybe this is controversial considering their wedding is the last event that takes place in The Legend of Korra, but their relationship was pretty abrupt and Varrick treated Zhu Li like trash for pretty much their entire relationship until getting engaged. Number 20 is Aunt Wu and Iroh. They flirted like one time, but I think that there was untapped potential there. Number 19, ROKU and Ta Min. I hate this couple mostly because of the timeline discrepancy I keep bringing up on this channel, but let's be real, ROKU stood no chance until he was named Avatar. He pretty much admitted it himself. Number 18, PAKKU and KANNA. They reconnected later in their life, but KANNA fled her home just to get away from this guy the first time. Number 17, Sokka and Yue. This was a sweet relationship, but I don't think it was as deep lasting as Sokka's other relationship. It definitely affected him for the rest of his life, but I think this relationship was more of a catalyst for Yue to confront her own unhappiness with her tribe's customs. Number 16, San and Naoki. These were Bolin and Mako's parents. Not much is known about them, but they were devoted to each other before they were killed by muggers. Number 15, Chong and Lily. This duo was a pretty good match, all things considered. However, Lily seemed especially brainless, and I can't help but sympathize with Sokka. Number 14, Korra and Asami. Let's be real, Bolin and Wei had a better build-up than this relationship. And before you guys jump down my throats, I'm not opposed to a gay relationship in Avatar, obviously. But I would like to see it done a lot better than this one. But still, it seems that the comics fleshed out this relationship. Although there still seems to be some issues, I mostly chalk it up to the inconsistency that comes with the quality of the comics. Number 13, Bolin and Opal. I like Opal and Bolin, and I feel like this was his least toxic relationship, but it still had some issues as we see in book 4. Number 12 is Jinora and Kai. This relationship was clearly long-lasting. They make a pretty good couple. Number 11, Thon and Ying. These two had a positive outlook and were dedicated to giving their daughter the best possible life. Number 10 is Gansu and Sela. The parents of Sensu and Lee, they were deeply devoted to each other and their children. They suffered a lot and likely relied on each other. Number 9 is Hakoda and Kaya. We see little of this relationship, but it was a sure fact that they were deeply devoted to each other. After Kaya's death, it would take Hakoda years before he was comfortable enough to pursue a new relationship. Number 8 is KURUK and UMMI. UMMI's death impacted KURUK so greatly that it led to his own demise. One of the saddest and most tragic love stories in all of Avatar. Number 7, Pema and Tenzin. This was a pretty straightforward relationship and had an overall healthy dynamic. They complemented each other well and had an enduring relationship. Number 6 is Senna and Tonraq. It was from their love that Avatar Korra was born. We see little of them, but we do see how affected Senna is when Tonraq is arrested. Their entire life was uprooted when Korra was discovered as the Avatar, but they were constantly supportive of everything that she chose to do in her life. Great parents. Number 5 is Baatar and Suyin. Their relationship was one of the longest lasting in the show, having an adult son by the time of book 3 of Legend of Korra. They always support each other, and we see how much Suyin's family means to her, and likewise how much Baatar supports his wife in all of her pursuits. Number 4 is Oma and Shu. Some people will probably roll their eyes at this placement because of how little we see them, but I think the story and couple is just very touching, and it's always been one of my favorite parts of the Cave of Two Lovers. Their love was literally immortalized with the city of Omashu. Number 3 is Sokka and Suki. Obviously, we all knew that this one was coming. This was one of the first couples ever showcased in the entire series. The only thing that takes away from this relationship is how little we see of Suki. Number 2 is Mei and Zuko. Personally, this is my favorite relationship in Avatar. It's heartbreaking to think that they actually broke up in the comics, but I'm convinced that they'll be back together. Zuko was the only person who could drive a softer side out of Mei, and likewise we see Zuko in a completely different light when he's with her. Seeing their relationship withstand Zuko's character growth is very satisfying. Number 1 is Aang and Katara. I think that this couple has to be number 1. It was love at first sight for Aang, but it took Katara hearing the fortune from Aunt Wu to piece it all together. Katara was always more unsure of her feelings, but over time they came to have one of the longest lasting relationships in the franchise. The final shot in the entire series is these two embracing as a couple. If you guys like this list, please go ahead and leave a like and leave a subscription, and check out some of my other Avatar content. If you guys disagreed with anything or you'd like to leave a comment or suggestion, please leave it in the comments down below. And I'll see you guys all in my next video.